My name is Tyler Gould. I'm the Director of Economic Development for Abbotsford First Nation. I've been in this role since January of 2019, so I've been in this role for 4 years and a few months. And my day-to-day operations are to encourage economic development within the community, help entrepreneurs start businesses, help attract investment to the community, create employment opportunities, and help the team here at the band with whatever needs to be done.
Does Abaquit First Nation collaborate with PEI tourism at all?
Historically, not so much, but we have that relationship is definitely improving. Just this year, they're actually sponsoring a ball tournament in the community here. It's a First Nation ball tournament, so we're inviting like First Nations across Atlantic Canada, I believe. We already have in October, yeah. We already have 6 or 8 teams confirmed. Yeah, we've done little advertising and marketing. So they're supporting that because they're all about how can we increase off-island visitation. So PEI is a rural province. We have a couple small cities, Summerside and Charlottetown, but the vast majority of PEI is rural. So if we want to attract visitors to the island, we have to focus on rural initiatives, rural tourism products and experiences. That's the only way forward. And Abaquit is in a convenient location. Our Scotchfoot Reserve is just 20 minutes outside of Charlottetown. Rocky Point's only about 20 minutes outside of Charlottetown too, the other way. So we're kind of in a strategic location. We're considered rural, but we're also close enough to the city center. Where cruise ships and people coming from plane and things like that can quickly access our community and experience our tourism products. But for rural communities that are a bit more rural, like Lennox Island, for example, they're it's like an hour and a half drive from Charlottetown. They got to be a little bit more innovative, and they got to think of just unique products that aren't offered anywhere else. And
explain what another unique product would be, other than the beaches.
Yeah, so another product, I know in the case of Lennox Island, they have a few experiences they offer. One's a craft making experience with an Indigenous artisan. We do that as well. One's digging, digging for oysters and then, or clams, and then cooking those over an open fire. So for us, it's quite easy because we're the only ones Lennox Island and Abaquit First Nation who can offer Indigenous tourism experiences, right? No one else can really do that throughout the province without culturally appropriating, of course. So for us, that's an advantage, is that we have that unique product and experience that's not being offered anywhere else right now in the province. So that's great. For places that are even more rural, remote, they have to be innovative and, offer experiences that draw people in. But a lot of, rural island communities are beautiful and they're coastal and people want to go experience them anyway. And for the most part, nothing's too far. It's a 3-hour drive, tip to tip. Yeah. So what
role could, Abaquit First Nations step into in terms of tourism that would, succeed right away, something that you can offer?
Yeah, sure. We could greatly help the province in its tourism. So tourism is one of the top 3 sectors in the province. It's a huge priority for the province. Obviously, we have millions of visitors that come to PEI each year. So we can play a big role in helping the island sustain that and diversifying the tourism products and experiences that currently exist on PEI. Because people want that now. People want experiences. They want hands-on activities. They want to be in communities. And we can fill that role nicely. And I mentioned earlier, Indigenous tourism is growing quite steadily. It's very in demand from a lot of European countries. a lot of European visitors, like Indigenous tourism is on their top of their bucket list. Some other markets, not so much, like Asia and things like that, but there's work being done by our national association, ITAC, Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada, on introducing Indigenous tourism into those markets. But Europe and other places, it's already there. Those visitors want Indigenous experiences and products, so we can help the province. Our role is kind of to help the province in the region, fill or meet that demand, and offer the experiences that people are looking for. And that in turn will help the community as well in their objectives, because they want a vibrant community, they want businesses, they want people thriving. And tourism is a great vehicle to do that, because not only are you, creating business opportunity and potentially generating a profit, but you're employing people and you're helping community members showcase and revitalize their culture, which is important. So there's a whole education piece there too, because everything that we do through Indigenous tourism, we're also like educating visitors on Indigenous culture, history. So that's all important. That contributes to, more broadly, like reconciliation. So Indigenous tourism hits a lot of check boxes for us as a community.
Great entrepreneurs, they look for great opportunities. So you're looking at Indigenous tourism, and you're saying it's on the up and up. So if you're an entrepreneur from anywhere in the world and you're looking at the island and going, okay, something's happening there. In a perfect world, as a businessman, as a leader, how do you see that relationship forming, and how do you see dollars being created?
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, so entrepreneurship's important for our tourism. I mentioned earlier, like 4 or 5 years ago, we were doing some experiences, just trying to meet demand, and they weren't our experiences, but they were run through the band. The band government was doing them, and that didn't make a lot of sense, right? We were just losing our shirt on them, because you can't do a $13 an hour bus tours, for example, under the bureaucracy of a band government, which has large overhead and salaries and things like that. So it's just not feasible. But where tourism is feasible, and I think is within the private sector. It's individual operators that are offering a unique product or experience. So we need to encourage more entrepreneurship within our tourism, because right now it's heavily led by the band and by myself and my staff, and it's not the most sustainable approach. So we do need to encourage a lot more entrepreneurship, and I hope through the work that we're doing and some of the infrastructure that we're bringing, that it will inspire more entrepreneurs within the community and outside the community, perhaps. For example, we have a lot of fishermen and fisherwomen in the community, and those boats sit idle like 8 months out of the year. Like, there could be lots of opportunity to utilize those boats for fishing excursions, or boat tours, or some other experience. But a lot of the community members don't know those opportunities exist. But the more work we do down this path, the more infrastructure we develop, and the more we engage the community, I hope that it's going to inspire more entrepreneurs in the tourism space, and hopefully attract entrepreneurs from outside the community who want to, partner with us or invest with us. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have lots of golf courses here, and that's a big part of our tourism too, obviously. Yeah, and there's opportunities to partner there too. Yeah, we have just 15 minutes that way. 15 minutes east of Scotchford, there's Crowbush. Yeah, and that's one of the partners that we've been talking to as well, is the Rod, because they have a resort next to the Crowbush. But I think the Crowbush might be owned by the province. A lot of the higher tier golf courses are owned by the province. Yeah. But, the Rod has a resort next to it, and they kind of manage the upkeep and stuff, and there's opportunities there. There's endless opportunities, right? So our biggest issue is how do we prioritize, right? How do we, because we only have so much capacity to develop partnerships and businesses. Like, what do we want to focus on? So part of the work with the development corporation I mentioned is that the development corporation will have investment criteria. We'll do like a consultation process, and after that we'll have like investment criteria. So it might look like there's 4 pillars. that we want to focus on. Maybe it's tourism, retail, fisheries, and something else. And then, that will be our, our foundation for business development. And then on top of that, we'll have like a criteria around who we should partner with, so we ensure that we're partnering with the right people. So part of the development corporation is that piece of work as well, which will help us stay more focused on, the right opportunities. There seems to be like a positive trend towards experiential. And I think that's where Indigenous communities can play a big role. You mentioned a few of the potential experiences, right? Like, an evening in a sweat lodge with an elder.
Playing lacrosse with someone.
Playing lacrosse, playing catch, going out fishing for eels. And then going to our kitchen and cooking the eel and eating it with our, we have a Métis chef that leases space in our kitchen. So having a culinary experience with him.
You mentioned those lodges you guys are trying to build.
The lodges, experiences at the, the lighthouse there and the lodges. And there's lots of opportunity for experiences there. And storytelling, it's really endless, right? And our task is to kind of corral it in and focus on the things that we can do well, and not to overwhelm our people, because we can offer an endless amount of experiences and products, but it's who do we have available, what do they want to do, what do they feel comfortable providing. So we're in that process now, but there's lots of positive movement towards experiential tourism, and experiential tourism fits very nicely with Indigenous tourism, because a lot of the Indigenous tourism experiences and initiatives are experiential in nature. Ecotourism is one too, and I know the province is trying to encourage more winter tourism. So there's opportunity there too, like the snowshoe and hunt small game in the community, right? Things you can't do elsewhere. Yeah, ice fishing. And of course, we have a lot of artisans in the community, and craft making and those types of experiences are popular too. So lots of opportunity. I know that there's lots of projects that are coming down the pipeline. I mentioned all the infrastructure development work we're doing. So we have 2 projects where we're developing tourism infrastructure, which I think kind of fitting for the conversation. One of them is in Scotchford, so just across the highway along the Hillsborough River. We're developing a tourism center there. So that tourism center is going to have office space, a boardroom, all that type of stuff. It's also going to have a visitor information center and a point of sale. So visitors can come to the center, talk to somebody, get information, but then they also can book Indigenous tourism experiences at the center, which we can deliver in community. And they can also rent e-bicycles and kayaks to use on the new active transportation infrastructure down by the water there. Because we're also in the process of developing a boardwalk and a floating dock on the river, because we want to revitalize the river for the community so they can use it, but also to help us with their tourism development, because this new center will offer people the ability to rent kayaks, canoes, and use the river. And then we're also talking with the Charlottetown Harbour Port Authority on doing a cruise ship experience where we can take folks from the Charlottetown Harbour down the Hillsborough River all the way to Scotchford on a boat, and then do something with them here in community. That center that I'm talking about, we're hoping to break ground on that this summer. We think we have the financing lined up. Now it's just a matter of getting it done. And the other project is in Rocky Point. I mentioned we recently acquired land there, including the Blockhouse Point Lighthouse, which is a historic lighthouse in PEI, and we recently acquired that from DFO just a couple weeks ago. But our plan there is to develop high-end Indigenous chalets, about 5 or 6 of them, to offer like unique Indigenous accommodation experience. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We want some cultural infrastructure there too, like a sweat lodge or a traditional longhouse. And we're going to obviously maintain the integrity of the lighthouse because that was important to DFO, but retrofit the inside to transform it into an executive suite. So, you could stay there, for example, if you wanted like a very unique lodging experience, at the lighthouse that overlooks the water in the Charlottetown Harbor. So we have like big plans there because we always say like you're not really involved in tourism if you can't offer people a place to stay. So that's important to us to have, to have that project. That one's a little longer term because it's, the estimate on that's like $13 million. But we already started like some site development work and stuff. So yeah, we got our conceptual design done. We, removed some old trees from Fiona and done some civil design work. And yeah, that it's in progress. But construction probably won't begin on that until next year. Yeah.
Last one, advice for the students at Mount St. Vincent watching from the classroom if they want to get into, the tourism world, the Indigenous tourism world, and they want to excel at it. What's some, I guess you could maybe say, beginner advice you would give them leaving the academic world and entering the professional world?
I wouldn't say this is academic advice, but education is great. It's a great foundation to have. But in terms of wanting to get involved in Indigenous tourism, I would just do it. A lot of people have analysis paralysis. I know when it comes to entrepreneurship and business development, they'll, think something through to death and it gets stuck in that planning phase. But sometimes you just got to do it. And if you're unsure of how to do it, I would first see if you're First Nation, see if your Indigenous community is doing anything in Indigenous tourism. If they are, reach out to the development officer, whoever that is, to see what they're doing. If there's opportunity for you to have a mentorship experience or to even work with them to develop a product or experience. If not, there's provincial associations you can contact for assistance. I mentioned our national association, the Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada, but under that there's provincial associations. So I sit on the board of the Indigenous Tourism Association of PEI, and they would love nothing more than an Indigenous person living in PEI to reach out and to ask for assistance in terms of their business idea or in terms of how do I get involved in tourism in another capacity. I don't want to start my business, but maybe I want to, be employed in this space somewhere. And those Indigenous tourism associations should be able to help you navigate that. But yeah, if you're interested in being an entrepreneur in the space, just be confident in who you are, because you are the experience, you are the product. That's what people are looking for. They want authenticity, and if you're an Indigenous person in Canada, that's as authentic as it gets. So just be comfortable with who you are. Be confident and go out there and do it. And if you need any help with the planning or pricing and things like that, there is resources and tools available. You just have to kind of ask for help. I mentioned a few of those organizations that might be able to provide assistance. But don't be afraid to reach out to different people and ask questions and just go out there and do it.